Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 5 of the Inside Greyhound Athletics podcast. My name is Ryan Shumaker, and I'm pleased to be joined by head softball coach Kira Zeiter this afternoon. Coach, appreciate you joining me.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you doing this.
Well, Coach, as you know, this podcast is intended to give all of our fans out there a look at the past, present, and future of all of our athletic programs. And although last year for our softball program didn't end how you, I'm sure, hoped, it was definitely a step in the right direction. But before we get more into that, let's look back on the totality of your first 2 years of the program here and how the team developed from year 1 into year 2.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. It's been quite a great process. You know, when I took over here, I was very blessed to be able to have a great group of student athletes that not only cared about our success on the field, but also in the classroom. And so we've been, using that momentum to continue that to this day. I think we've been able to do a lot of recruiting over the last few years and add depth in all positions. Of course, the depth at pitcher is always a huge step in the right direction, but I think especially this last season, the depth we had in all positions really helped our success on game day. And we're looking forward to continuing, that success going into this next season.
And looking back, moving from the 2019 season into the 2020 season, I'm not sure what the record is for the amount of freshmen brought into one program, but I would have to think that you would have been very close. So many new faces and so many different styles of players. When you were going out on the recruiting trail and after your first year, you got a good feel of the league and the area. What were some of the things you were looking at in those freshmen?
We wanted to add everything from pitching to power to speed. It was a little bit of everything, and so I think that's why you did see such a increase in the number of players just on the roster in general for the depth purposes, that we were just talking about. But I think we're able to bring in the 15 freshmen, and I think that we basically were able to take a step in the right direction with all of those new players, just because of the way that they got along off the field and not just on the field, and really looking towards bringing just good people, not just good softball players. We're also wanting to make sure we continue the academic success of the program. In terms of the actual softball, we wanted to really bring in more depth at pitching as well as power hitting. We're in such an offensive heavy conference, and so especially those two aspects coming into our program, you could see the success and how that helped, especially starting off 5-1 in the Lone Star this last season. And so I think that the 15 freshmen coming in really did make a big impact, and we had also some junior college transfers that also added to that depth. And so just really looking forward, it seems like we have a good momentum going into this next season.
Last season was a fun one, even though it ended much earlier than we expected. Getting off to such a good start, and really those freshmen that you just mentioned, getting off to such a good start at the collegiate level and in this conference was very impressive. But I think if there's one moment that stands out, it definitely has to be the win over West Texas A&M. And not only just the one win, but the doubleheader win. It was almost like there was just elation out on the field that at that particular time, West Texas, as well always, is a very talented team. And for us to welcome them here to Portales and beat them 2 games, that had to have been pretty special for you.
It was. It was nice to see the hard work that we put into the program over the last 2 years really, come to fruition and see that success. That was some great home wins. We also had some great preseason wins. I can think of a great 8-inning win against a pretty, normally regionally ranked team in Colorado Mesa, and that was in Tucson. And so, I was very happy with how the team just kind of came onto the field. It didn't really matter who we were playing or the situation. They knew what job they needed to do, and we were able to, step up on game day and just, really enjoy the experience.
And as much as there were some new faces last year, there were also some returners that they had an obvious impact. Elisa Rodriguez and Jenny McElroy were just 2 names that really stood out. Also Samantha Brockman, who is now going to be a graduate assistant. But speaking to Elisa and Jenny in particular, what does their leadership and their experience bring to the team day in and day out?
That word leadership is huge. And we are very lucky that they're going to be with us again this year. Both will have graduated by this season. And so, it just really helps to have that leadership on the field when you do have so many new faces to the program, because it just helps that transition to a new year with a new group and just showing the new players how we do things. It helps them to transition into a new conference. The Lone Star is, in my opinion, the best in the country for D2, and just shows them that leadership can help with the preparation as well as things off the field, as well as then you really see that success come on game day.
I think we could spend all morning here mentioning some names that made an impact last year, just because there was so much depth. But two names that really stick out in particular: Brooke Ledger on the mound, and Kiana Galindo as well. Really, both players really had a big impact on the field. Talk a little bit about them, as well as some other names of that freshman class that really stepped up throughout the year.
Sure. Like you said, we could really go on and on about the names this year for the reason that, no matter what the day was, you might have seen a different player out there on the field. And I think that some of the names you mentioned definitely had an impact right there. I think Brooke, took a large chunk of the innings this last year, and against teams that, and she really got the job done on a consistent basis. I think you also saw in some of our other pitchers, I think same thing with Jordan Bowman, as well as Tava Boone. I think that they all complemented each other very well on the mound, and we saw that really help our team throughout the season when you're facing such tough offensive competition. In terms of the field, like you said, Kiana, we call her Kiwi, and she really brought an offensive punch to our lineup. You could also look at someone like Jacaira Paredes, who really was a solid shortstop for us every inning last year, and obviously such a tough position. In our conference, you're going to get so many plays on a consistent basis, and you just only need to be a rock out there, and that's really what she was. I think you could look at our catchers behind the plate, because without a good catcher, it's tough for those pitchers to have the success that they did. I think you saw several very, obviously you mentioned Samantha Brockman already. You're also looking at Andrea Klein, Max Shaw, Brie Loyola, and some of that depth that, behind the plate really helped with the pitcher's success as well. So, like you said, I really liked how the team really came together last year.
Now looking forward to this year, it's obviously been a little different fall than normal. What's kind of been the game plan of attack for your program throughout this fall, where student athletes haven't been able to be on campus, and for the baseball and softball programs, and softball in particular, that fall semester is extremely important. Maybe not as much this year, just because there's not as many newcomers, but still to get that second year of development for the freshmen from last year, it surely has been tough.
Well, sure. I think for them, obviously you want to be with your team in the fall, and I think we've done, a very good job though of getting them set up for success for the spring. We've set them all up with Google Drives and, practice plans and whatnot that we can do at home. And if they happen to have teammates in the area, they've been able to get together with teammates and continue the success of, to be prepared for the spring season. Like you said, I think this year, we do have a good group of the team coming back as returners, and that should help us going into the spring.
Moving into the spring, it's undoubtedly going to be a tough schedule once again. But as you look forward, and after the success of last year, starting out 5-1 in Lone Star Conference play, like you mentioned, what's going to be the key to taking that next step for the program?
The consistency. I think that was something that, this last year, especially with new freshmen, there's going to be some ups and downs. And we did see some of that this last year. And what I'd like to see continuing forward is, they've been through it now, so they know what to expect. And so hopefully that consistency on a day in, day out basis, is something that we'd really like to strive for this year.
Coach, speaking about yourself in particular, this is your third head coaching gig, if you will. But you were a very successful player back in the day, not too long ago, but back at Adams State. When you were playing and having success, what were qualities and and coaches that you liked and that you felt like led to your success, and how has that molded you as a head coach?
Absolutely. I think some of the coaches that I had in college, for 3 of my 4 years, I had the same head coach, same assistant coach, and working with them on a day in and day out basis. There was never a time when I wanted extra hitting reps where that wasn't going to be okay. Being available for your team, being supportive of your team. I think those are characteristics that I took with me from my college experience. And just knowing what I was looking for when I got into the coaching ranks. I was looking for student athletes that were just going to care about their softball, ability, but they're also going to care about representing the school in the right way, and also making sure they're taking care of the job in the classroom. I like to say while recruiting, we're not just going to need good softball players here because that's only 4 years. But after your 4 years, you take your degree with you for the rest of your life. That was something that my coaches really, had as an important part of our program there, and something that I believe that I wanted to continue, with this program here at Eastern.
What will be the measuring stick of success this coming spring? It's been such a tough fall, but as you mentioned, the team seems like it's well prepared, and after the success of last season, the momentum is definitely there. In your eyes, what will be the measuring stick of success moving into the spring of 2021?
The goal is always every year we want to be in the conference tournament. I know there's still some things being worked on in terms of how, it looks like it's going to be 10 teams that are going to be in that this year. Our goal is obviously to be there in the postseason. And then if we're there in the postseason, you never know what's going to happen. And I know that's not something that the team's always, been able to do in the past, and it hasn't been a consistent thing for the program. But I believe our team believes that is something we want to be a consistency for the program. Every year we want to be there in that conference tournament, and then going to regionals, and then who knows from there, because then it's anyone's ball game.
It was just announced earlier this week that you will finally be able to get your players here on campus at the beginning of November. I can't remember exactly which date will be softballs, but somewhere in November 3rd, 4th, or 5th, the 4th. Thank you. November 4th, you'll be able to return. What was your response whenever you heard that November 4th date?
Oh, very excited. It's just going to be nice to get back together with the team and being able to see everybody again. And, like I said, they really are friends off the field too. And so I know this is going to be great for them just to have that time with their friends, their teammates, their coaches. We're going to be able to work on some little things that we would like to work on. Like I said, we've been using the Google Drive, and so we have been doing practice plans and whatnot at home. But when actually you're able to work with your students in person, then there's some things that we'll be able to do, in person, and give them that immediate feedback that they, obviously really appreciate as a student athlete.
Well, Coach, I know you're excited. I know your student athletes are excited. We're excited, and I know I speak on behalf of Greyhound Nation. It was such a fun ride last year that came to an end way too soon. Can't wait to get back on that train and keep going. Really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Ryan. We're excited too. Looking forward to the spring season.
Awesome. Thank you.